I am an indigenous Mexican American, but I claim my indigenous side. So we are called Chicanos Chicanas, and reclaiming our Chicana history is very important for all indigenous people.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your specific tribe?
Well, my specific tribe, we are not actually federally recognized because the majority of us, the government says that we're Hispanic. But in 2020, the 2020 census is that for the people who are Mexican American, for them, a lot of people are claiming Hispanic, such as job employments, anything that's on or say like for instance you're signing a paperwork and it says Hispanic, African American, etc., etc. For me, since I've moved to California from Texas, I have been claiming Native American, because Native American descent, that's all they have on the job applications or any other paperwork. So if you reclaiming our indigenous roots and reclaiming basically what's around us, it also combats the gentrification as well. Because as indigenous peoples, we have the right to say that we don't want this store, or we don't want this like we don't want a certain type of store, such as like a dispensary shop or a liquor store inside within the area. For us, we care about our community, we care about our healthcare, and we care about our families first, and helping the community.
In 1971, there was it was called the Indian Claims Court that the United States had, and they wanted to settle once and for all which land belonged to the United States, what they claimed belonged to them, and what land belonged to indigenous people. They found that there was no treaty that turned any part of California over to them. They'd signed certain treaties, but those treaties were never ratified, and so there's no treaty that would give land from indigenous people to the United States from California, for instance.
No, because those treaties have been broken.
Yeah.
Those treaties have been broken. The Treaty of Hidalgo has been broken by the United States citizens. Actually, by the United States government. And my family is from Texas, and my fourth great grandmother was actually a soredera. What meaning a soredera is that she was fighting, she was actually fighting the United States at that time, because of what was happening. They were taking the lands from that side of Texas. See, there was a point in time during the 1900s where a lot of Mexicans were confused about when the Treaty of Hidalgo happened and the border happened. They were either on the Mexican side or on the Mexico side, so Texas or Mexico. And there's some that were living on the border. They didn't know what side to pick. And what the United States was doing is that what you said, they had them go knock on their doors, sign some papers, and a lot of Mexicans at that time, they were illiterate. They didn't speak any English. So that was the United States government took advantage of them at that time.
I know that originally the plan was for the Europeans to divide up this continent. Like the English wanted the northeastern portion of this continent, and then the French wanted the center, and then Napoleon Bonaparte sold Louisiana all the way up to Canada, so he could fight. So he wanted to fight against the Russians. He needed the money. Then he wanted the South with the Confederate States, and they were going to give the western part of this continent, west of the Mississippi, to Spain. And of course that fell apart, but this is a very messed up situation now, a very horrible society.
Yes.
For instance, too, my mother was from France, and you see, for the past 21 weeks, the French President Macron has been ordering police and our military to shoot peaceful protesters. Over 3,000 have been shot with rubber bullets, and hundreds have died, and people have lost their eyes. To me, the four most evil countries on earth are England, France, the United States, and Israel, which have accounted for all the colonization of the world.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you look at the devastating effects that we have right now because of that.
Let me read something to you.
Okay.
This is from one of my mentors, and also.
And tell me your name again.
My name is Alejandra Gutierrez. I am from San Antonio, Texas. You can find me on Instagram at AleG_visuals.
Okay.
I am a photographer and I am a documentarian, so I do talk to people just like when I'm talking to you. But let me read something about in regards to the Guadalupe Treaty of Hidalgo, and of course about the United States government. So this is from one of my friends. He says, Atzlan, ? There is no conflict between the concept and memory of Atzlan and the sovereignty of indigenous peoples other than the one created by the Spanish and then the US invasion of the continent. All peoples have names for homelands. Some indigenous people is what is now the US claim homelands farther south, and they have a name for those origins. That's all. I think many indigenous persons have to revisit and challenge 4 to 5 centuries of divide, conquer tactics. There is no political project that actively seeks to reclaim Mexican state sovereignty over the territories invaded by the U.S. and annexed as a result of U.S. invasion of Mexico. The reference to a map is not a fiction invented by Chicanos. It is a historical map referred to in the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Map of the United States as organized and defined by various acts of the Congress, said Republic and constructed according to the best authorities revised edition published at New York in 1847 by J. Dursnell, of which map a copy is added to this treaty attached. This map makes reference to ancient homelands of the Aztecas, somewhere generally northwest of Hopi land called Moqui in the map, although it does not explicitly state Atzlan. This is one way the oral and written traditions refer to those homelands that is not an invasion of Chicanos. It is also interesting to note that the Atzlan deniers not also affirm that this is not the United States of America, nor that part of it to be called America. Why not? Perhaps because they call themselves have been foot soldiers of the U.S. military in its ever-expanding global domination to establish a neoliberal empire, including its continuing domination over the entire hemisphere. ? It is that same map and treaty which recognize to some degree the occupancy rights of many indigenous peoples in the Mexican North U.S. Southwest. Special care shall then be taken not to place Indian concepts under the necessity of seeking new homes. By committing those invasions, which the United States have solemnly obliged themselves to restrain. Perhaps some Chicanos once had a vision of anti-colonial liberation, struggling involved a concept of Atzlan. I can tell you, those were the people who most supported AIM in
the American Indian Movement.
Yes.
Yeah. What are you reading from?
This is from American Indian Women in Woundedly, Alcatraz and other indigenous struggles for American Indian self-determination as well. More recently, in Standing Rock and elsewhere, Atzlan, Mexicans, and Masame were present to defend sovereignty and Mother Earth and not impose any type
Mother
of
Earth, we worship a Mother God,
yes,
Gaia.
Colonization. Ultimately, I wonder what's the point here. Whose interests does the critique of the knowledge and memory of Atzlan serve? Why is indigenous erasure of Mexican narratives and oral traditions acceptable? Some, even allies. Words that unite, power in wisdom, liberation in self-determination. So here you have this is the United States before the Treaty of Hidalgo. You see that Mexico actually owned the majority of...
There's a lot of glare in here. I'm coming close at 10 minutes. I'm going to have to end it. But Maybe we can do another one soon. I'd like to talk to you again, but this is really fascinating. I'm going to put this on my Instagram, my IGTV, and I'm going to see if I can get it on YouTube. I may have to divide it in half.
So this is...
But thanks a lot. This is 10 minutes. I'm going to cut off right here.